if you have perfect family relationships, I mean, you have no squabbles, there's no disagreements, everything is just like the Hallmark Channel around Christmas time when it comes to family, you can just change this interview. Just go ahead and turn it off because you've got it all figured out. We don't, okay? If you're like most of us, specifically me, my goodness, family, it can be so tricky and so difficult to navigate those waters emotionally. And that's why I'm thrilled to have our next author on with us, MJ Watson. We're going to call him Mark Watson. His pen name is MJ. Wrote the book Mirror Image. You Cannot Airbrush a Self-Portrait. Welcome, Mark.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Hello. We're glad that you're here to help us. Um, as I said before, kind of navigate the waters. And there's a lot to learn from your book. Even though it's fiction, um, there's a lot of real situations. Would you mind kind of expounding on that a little bit and what
Oh,
the main
sure.
message is? Yeah.
Yes, the story starts with Doris, who's in her middle 60s, and she uh, has a meeting or a visit with her granddaughter, who's 17 years old. Her granddaughter, who she discovers is expecting a child, and
Mhm.
she's a senior in high school. Doris is trying to deal with her to make the right decision here, to make a good decision. And as Doris realizes that from back almost 45 years ago, she did not make the right decision in the same situation. At that time, she disagreed with her parents and she left home a day after high school, not telling her parents and never contacting them again. During that time, she has had quite a different life,
Mhm.
and she decides now to go back. It's time to go back. What she is dealing with her granddaughter. She realizes she sees what her parents were doing, what her
Mm.
husband over many years had said. You have to go home. You have to talk to your family, but you have to go back in the truth. So
Wow.
that's what she decides to do. And when she goes back, she's one of many children. Uh, when she left, her mother was actually expecting the 10th child, and
Wow.
like a few months before her baby would have been due. And she just has she doesn't know what to do. So she does go back
Yeah.
and she walks in on her dad. Her mom has passed away. She did not know that. And so the story goes from there.
So, I mean, a lot of it has to do with, first of all, one choice affects another one, and you
Right.
can't run away. I mean, here this
Right.
woman is in her 60s and she's just now confronting what should have probably been confronted years ago. That in itself is an amazing lesson for us to take away.
Oh, it is. She finds herself over all these years that she wanted to go back. She even called her home telephone number a number of times over these years, and or looked it
Yeah.
up to make sure that it was still there. It was Her parents were still in the same house
Yeah.
and all that, and but she never really dialed that number. She just
That
didn't
fear,
do it.
that fear was just too much. Yeah.
It was just something she could. And now at this point, she has four grown children and grandchildren, and her husband had died recently. So
Hmm.
it's another chapter in her life that she wants to go back and maybe clarify the earlier chapters in her
Yeah.
life.
Mark, one of the things you say is that we can take away from this is what you're hearing might be different from what's actually being said. And I'd love for you to talk more about that.
Well, many times, I think in family situations, in friendships, even at work, sometimes what we hear someone else say, we're taking it more personally, or we're taking
Mm,
it from our point of view, not necessarily listening to what they're saying when they're saying it about themselves, not
right.
about you or about the other person listening, or and acceptance, being accepting of the fact that, I mean, I have four children and they're very different than each other,
Hmm.
and they're all the same sex. So
Mm,
it's they
mm,
they have to accept the other one in the way they are. And I think we see that in families. I'm from a family of 8, so I know that we're very different.
mhm.
And you have to listen, and then sometimes you have to just say, oh well, That's
Yeah.
what that's
Yeah.
how they feel. I don't feel that way, but they can feel that way.
Right.
So
Right. And we have to move past this
we have to move past
because
that. We have to do what's
yeah.
right. We need to do. But if someone doesn't accept it or they argue with it, well, that's okay too. But we
Right.
still have to be and not fight, not have a
Mm,
fight about it. Understand that
mm.
they can hear it. If they hear it the way they do, maybe later they'll rethink it too.
Yeah. You know what's so sad to me is that Doris is in her 60s, and that conversation that could have happened, what, 40, 35, 40 years earlier may have changed the trajectory of her life
Oh,
and how she felt about herself. And maybe she created this narrative in her head about being a disappointment that really wasn't true.
right. It was. It was what her plan that her parents had for her, which came up instantly, like any parents of a high school daughter who is expecting a
Sure.
child. It's not something you have in your plan book, you know. So,
Right.
you know, and she just she had her own plan for college and things like that.
Mhm,
So
mm,
she wanted to pursue her plan, and so she kind of went at it uh, out the back door. And once she moved along with that
mm,
plan, she realized that was not the best way to go, but did not go back. She did not go back to her
mm.
parents. She just kept going uh, on her own.
So we're dealing with pride,
Oh, very much.
resentment,
Um, uh,
unforgiveness.
right,
Yeah.
guilt.
Guilt,
Yeah, guilt.
yes.
A lot of guilt for the way she handled her own situation, but guilt for the way she did not hear what her parents were saying. Like
Mhm.
like I was saying earlier, she just didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Um, but the story moves on. She confronts her father and then one of her brothers, and they listen. They actually listen, and they accept her. They
Mm.
don't accept. They don't understand everything yet, but they
Right.
are hearing it. And she wants to see one of her sisters. She was one of the older in the family. She wants to see one of her sisters who she was close to, and she does. And that doesn't turn out quite the same way. So
Mm,
her sister is angry at her, and
mm,
she explains her life since the day she left, which took her to New York, to Canada, to England, back to the United States and Oregon, and when explaining all this, and her her family didn't realize if she was alive or dead or whatever happened to her. So
mhm.
there, this sister just doesn't feel sorry for her at this point.
Sure,
She's mad.
sure,
She's mad,
sure.
and the hurt
So
all come up.
I love the fact that it's not just this nice, neat bow. She doesn't go home. She's not the
Oh
prodigal
no.
child that's welcome with open arms. This is real life stuff. I mean,
Oh yeah, it's not.
what
It's not a. Yeah, it's not a bowl of cherries by any
yeah.
means.
How can we apply this to our own lives? What lessons can we take out of this, in making a decision to maybe reconnect with family? Um,
Well, I think one of the things is your family, my family, everyone's family is going to do something that disappoints other people.
mhm.
It could be just the decision on where they buy a house or what color car they buy, or it could be
Yeah.
something very
Could
serious, who they're
sure.
marrying or something like that.
Yeah.
And we we have to hear what they're saying. We have to
Mm,
know that this is their life, and if they want whatever, a green car, they can have a green car.
mm.
But the more critical things. We get over green cars and things like that.
Yeah.
But the things that, like where to live or to move away from home or to move to another state or marry someone from another country, possibly that some family doesn't understand. We have to, allow people to have to know that we're going to do this. And when I do something that may disappoint my siblings or my parents, um, if I feel it's right for me or it's what I want, then I have to do it. I need other people to it with, if nothing else, just not question me about it. And, question, yeah, okay, at the beginning, why are you doing that? Or, are you sure that's the right thing? But once someone does something, you have to allow them. coming home and asking for forgiveness for what you did, that's another story. And
Yeah.
uh, that's what Doris does. She's coming back, but she wants them to understand what she did, but to forgive her at the same time.
Mm.
And it's very hard for us to forgive, and it's even harder for us to ask for forgiveness. And she had to do both. She had to ask for forgiveness and then forgive them in her own mind for not accepting her the way the way it was. So, I mean,
Mark, it sounds to me like the big overarching message of this is placing our expectations on other people and how
it,
dangerous that can be.
it is, but sometimes our expectations are for the good of the other person.
Sure, sure.
It's not just that, we want our children to go to college, possibly,
Right,
and so that would be a good expectation.
right.
Uh, but it's a lot of things we would like. We might like a sibling. Hey, get back and start talking to mom and dad. You're not.
Yeah.
You had a fight with them. Get over it.
Life is too short. Sure.
Right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes, as much as we may want that of a sibling, until they want it or until they're able to take a
Mm.
step, it doesn't always work.
So love and respect
Love and
is
respect.
also, yeah,
Oh, very
very
much so.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to love each other and respect each other and accept each other. These things are hard, but you
Yeah.
still have to be true to what you really believe yourself, and that's one of the things. Each one has beliefs, and
Yeah.
they want to get together with their sister again. But at the same time, why did this happen? And this shouldn't have happened. And this is 45 years and we didn't know where you were and all this kind
Right.
of thing. So I'm telling too much of the story, Suzanne.
No, this is it makes me want to dig in and know more for sure, because I know this is just the beginning nuances of what's in here. But we do have to wrap up. Mark, I know that your book is available through Writers Republic, but how else can people get a hold of it?
It's also on Amazon and in bookstores. If they don't have it in the bookstore, they will order it for you. And there are two other stories that I've also just published. I hope I can tell you. One is Todd, a man orphaned, and the other one is Goodbye, Son.
Mm,
And they're both newly published this year, and they all three deal with these kind of family situations. I'm not going to say
mm,
conflicts. I'm going to say
right.
situations. So,
Yes. Understand. Mark, thank you for joining us. I hope that you
well,
have a
thank you,
great day, and
Suzanne.
thanks for sharing your book with us.
I appreciate it. It's been very nice. My pleasure.